And that's what he would keep telling me, Miss M, I'm still here.
Wow.
I still hear you. And some days it was heartbreaking.
Welcome back to Teacher Tales, where we give you the keys to overcoming teacher burnout to find work-life balance and educational bliss if it still exists. I'm your host, Tony Rambles, and on this interview episode of Teacher Tales, we discuss how we can reduce the pressure on ourselves in education, how to connect with students, and dang on COVID is still teaching us lessons 4 years later. Mamou, good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So let's start out from the beginning. How long have you been in teaching, and what do you teach?
Okay. I've been in teaching since 2019, straight out of industry. I teach medical terminology and health science theory for the unique CTE Career Technical Education Program.
Do you feel like being able to teach CTE kind of helped you, transition into being a teacher better coming from industry? Shaking your head, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're able to bring personal examples, relevant information, because it's what you've done. It's what you've seen as far as patient care. I teach medical terminology. That's what I had to write. That was the language that we used in order to get reimbursed. That's how we communicated professionally with each other. Yeah.
What were the breadcrumbs of you becoming a teacher, and how do you feel like these paths that you had along the way prepared you?
So for me, it started off when I was training to become a therapist. They asked what kind of setting we did not want to go into while we were doing our clinical rotations. And I stood up like a big dum-dum and told them, absolutely under no circumstances do I want to work with any kind of children, little children, big children, infants, toddlers. So where do you think they put me? Working with children. Yep. So I started off in the ECI program. That's for the early childhood intervention program for kids that have disabilities that stop them from learning. And my job was to go into the home or the classroom setting and teach the parent or the educator how to work with the child. And that was the building blocks of it. So from there, that kind of put me on the path where I was comfortable working with kids. I saw that it wasn't so bad. And then I got to see a lot of teaching styles. I got, they gave me more exposure to different types of classrooms. This teacher might do it this way, and this other teacher may not. So it exposed me to different varieties of teaching styles, classroom management styles, learning styles, and yeah, so it was pretty good.
Do you remember anything specific that you were in somebody's classroom and you go, oh, I think that's pretty good, or oh, that was not good at all?
Yeah. I remember I was at Sharpstown Middle School. I was working for HISD as a school-based therapist. And back then they had a program called Life Skills, where some of those children, they may have had mental limitations. So for them, just learning life skills was good as far as preparing them for life. And there was a teacher in there. There were two teachers, actually, because some of the kids could become a little bit combative. And I mean, she was just excellent with those kids as far as learning. And she took them beyond life skills, actually. She really cared. She was very innovative with some of her teaching approaches. So the kids really got to do a lot of hands-on stuff, adding, subtracting. Like I said, she integrated all of that into the life skills.
So when you say life skills, what is that? How's that different than, classroom academia?
Right. So some of the children in there, they may have had like severe autism, emotionally disturbed, where they're unable to really sit and attend to tasks having to do with learning.
Right.
So a lot of stuff for them, tying shoes, buckling stuff, life things to help them be able to function. independently going to the restroom. So it was just really good the way she she took them beyond that, which a lot of times ended up them being able to have a different change of IEP because then the parents and the school administrators would see, oh, wait a minute,
They can do more.
they could do more. Yeah.
So what about a classroom that you went to and you thought, this is insane?
Yeah.
There's no way.
hmm Okay, well, we could fast forward to that. I was subbing after COVID. I'd gotten COVID when we went back in person, and so I decided to take some time off. So before coming here and getting back into teaching, I said, let me go sub a little bit. And so I was subbing at my daughter's school, and there was a new teacher there. They had me doing in-class support since I was an actual teacher and had a license. So I would go in and provide support to some of the students who needed it, and thereby helping the teacher as well. And this particular teacher, she was young. She was new to teaching, and the relationship she had with the children, it was the opposite. It wasn't too strict. It was actually too lax.
Oh.
The students would be going through her purse.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was just like, and for me, I like to stay in my lane. You know, my job was to support the teacher as far as that student, and then I was open to helping any other students who were having difficulty with the subject. So for me to tell her, hey, that doesn't look good, that Jane is going in your purse.
Yeah.
You know, and the students would all sit on her desk, on top of it. I mean, it was just the lines were blurred.
Yeah.
So then when it came time for instruction and to get the class under control, there was none. So one day I was asked to take her class while she was out. So when I got there, I proceeded to write the lesson on the board because I knew what they'd been working on.
Right.
And so a lady came in. She used her key and came in. And I didn't know who she was. And she didn't know me.
Probably admin.
Yeah. And she gasped. And she put her hand to her chest and she said, you got work on the board. I said, yeah. I said, I mean, they can't sit here and do nothing. And she said she had never seen
goodness,
work on that board.
That just goes to show you how different each classroom can really be. And I don't know, were they doing work when you were in there and your other? Oh, okay.
They would do probably 5 minutes of work.
And
there were times when the APs would come into that classroom and the teacher would pivot and start doing stuff.
Oh, they was fake teaching.
Right. Absolutely.
Got it.
Absolutely.
I kind of fall into this category because of my, I guess, the way I carry myself. I don't know if people really understand, I guess, like how I teach. Because it may look like from the outside, it's like, oh man, he's so chill, like he's fun and stuff. But when I tell you, those kids are like, you always have something for us to do. Like, why? Like, this is school. You're at work. You got to work. Why wouldn't I have something for you to do?
Yeah.
But there's definitely a line. I would categorize how I teach. It's easy to pass my class, but it's not easy to get like a high A. Like, you got to give me high A work. I want everybody to pass. If you do the work, you'll pass. But to be the best, like, you have to bring your best. Yeah. So I think that kids like and respect that kind of structure and expertise. So how do you feel like you bring that to your own classroom?
I, like you, we do have a relaxed approach in my class. I always tell the students, I'm learning with you. I'm not teaching you. We're learning together. And I think when you go at it that perspective versus an authoritarian, they understand because we built our classroom rules together.
Co-construct.
We co-constructed them. And then the beginning of the new school year, when we came back, 2024, I had to go over my roses and my thorns. We got to go back a little bit
Yeah.
and say this is what we got off track with. But just knowing what my expectations are, making those clear to the students, but at the same time, not being judgmental of them. They know that my room is a safe space. I always tell them, unless you're talking about offing another teacher or doing something, laying hands on another teacher,
Right.
whatever you say here, this is our safe space.
Fellow educators, what are your plans and strategies when you are trying to create a safe space, safe environment for your students? We'd love to hear more about them on the Teacher Triumphs Facebook group. Go and join and tell us about your experiences and what you plan to do to make your classroom a safe space for your students.
They know that I'm coming with integrity to do the job, though.
Yes.
I tell them I'm here to work, and I didn't leave my industry job to not give my best to you guys. I said, because one day you guys are going to be someone's nurse, doctor. You're going to care for someone. And if I'm not setting you up to succeed at that, then I don't need to be here.
Right. Wow. That's excellent. And when they know you care like that, I think that you have less issues in class, I would say, because, that just makes a huge difference. So bringing your expertise to the classroom, what would you say has been your most difficult time during teaching? Because you've been teaching since 2019. There was a break in there. So kind of walk us through how you've gotten to this point.
Well, COVID had to have been the hardest.
Yeah.
Because I was a brand new teacher, still going through the teaching alternative program to get my certification. And I mean, we went into uncharted territory.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't prepared to go online. So I had 2 young children myself that I was responsible for then being at home, they're learning and making sure that they were logged in.
Yes, and not just playing video games.
Right. And then I also was in the next room teaching my students. And I was also given 3 preps.
Wow.
So, new teacher, teaching at home now, learning all these technology pieces to make the lesson rigorous and engaging, to reach them across the computer, and 2 kids. And here's how it would go. And my students knew it. I'd be like, guys, hold on one moment. They said, Miss M, you think they sleeping? I said, I'm going to find out. And I'd have them split up. We used Teams at first. We were using Teams, and then I'd have them in breakout rooms doing whatever they're supposed to do. I said, I'll be right back. I'd get up, and then I'd hear the students gasp on the other end, and I'd forget that I would be professionally dressed from the waist up, pearls, everything, but have on my Wonder Woman pants at the bottom. So they would laugh, and I'd go down the hall, and sure enough, my baby's mouth wide open, knocked out, and the teacher on the other end, hurry up, log on, wake up. And I'm just, I mean, there's some days literally I would just start crying because my kids were always straight A's. And this was a time that I'm investing in other people's children while mine are suffering. And there was nothing I could do because I couldn't stay in the room with them.
Right.
I had to get back to my kids and make sure that they still got their content and they learned.
Yeah.
So it was hard.
That was a tough time. That was easily the most difficult time for me. Yeah. I would say COVID was harder than my first year of teaching. Easily. Just because I lost the part that I enjoyed the most, which was the engagement with the people in person. Because you do have some people who had their cameras on, they would engage with you. And those people were lifesavers. But for the most part, it was ceiling fans and a lot of bonnets.
Yeah.
So,
and it was silent.
and it was silent.
It was silent. And it's weird because first year teacher, still trying to get classroom management. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I was like, oh, no, it's not. These students are not. And I would have them in the breakout room. So it's not like, but still to them, they're still in front of all these other students. And like you said, COVID had impacted some of our families so bad that I would have students literally at McDonald's working.
Yep.
I would have another young man, his dad was a carpenter. He had to go help him because the crew members had gotten sick.
Yeah.
So he'd have the phone propped up on the ladder.
Right, like, I'm still here.
Yeah, and that's what he would keep telling me, Miss M, I'm still here.
Wow.
I still hear you. And some days it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then I'd have one, the daycare shut down, so she was responsible for the 9-month-old.
Wow.
And she'd be changing. It was just, you had to have so much grace.
Yeah.
With yourself.
Yes.
And with the students. And with your own kids.
Yes.
And with the parents. Because I would have parents call me up crying, I'm not a teacher.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do.
Look at COVID. Still bothering us these years later. We're still impacted by COVID. So, okay. That was an easy time to really get burned out. So, just your experience through burnout from being in industry, from being a teacher, going through COVID, having your own life issues. What does burnout look like for you when it happens? What are the physical and mental signs for you?
For me, it's mostly shutting down. Like going into a show. Still operating the day-to-day and doing what you have to do, but the people on the outside of the school suffer the most for me. Family and stuff, the kids and stuff, husband, taking care of them, but it would be friendships, stuff like that. Those would be put on the back burner because I'm just trying to make it through the day.
Can't even get to y'all out there.
No. And so, I'd kind of made myself a promise that I would try to get back to those friendships and reconnect. Hey, let's go have tea on Saturday. Let's go get coffee on this day. So I could still keep those connections. Because those connections are important outside of these walls.
What feelings would you associate with burnout?
Fatigue. Definitely fatigue.
Just tired of doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you're burning the candles at so many different ends. And people think that we're just teachers, but we're not. We're psychiatrists.
Talk about it.
We're counselors. We're social workers. We are bonus moms.
Bonus dads.
Bonus dads. I hear some of everything. And the kids will come to you if they're comfortable with you, with everything.
Yeah, with it all.
Yeah.
They won't be shy about it.
And sometimes you have got to keep a straight face, listen to what they have to say, and maybe you may have to close your door and cry later. But at that point, you've got to be a stable source for this child who needs help. I've had kids cry on my shoulder right outside the class door. They bring their stuff with them to school.
They're people. They're humans.
Yeah.
So just like we go through stuff as adults, we should be able to have it together more. Should be. But they're teenagers. So how can we expect them to? They don't have the life experience. They don't have the calluses built up from stuff being awful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they shouldn't. But the worst part is that some of them do. Because things have been bad for a while.
Yeah.
So when these things happen, either for you or for others, and they come to you with it, how do you get through it? How do you figure it out? What's step one?
Step one is to let them know that, hey, I hear you. I care. Usually I'll tell my student, do you need to go take a few minutes? Do you need to go to the restroom? Because, of course, we've both walked out this door. I've grabbed a box of tissue so the others know something's wrong.
Right, something's up.
Do you need to go talk to your counselor before you come back in?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll say yes. Sometimes they'll say, no, Miss Ann, talking to you was all right. It was good. And we just go back in and like
figure
nothing. Yeah.
So when it's you that needs to cry or that's getting burnt, when you isolate, because you say you start to draw back, how do you figure it out for yourself? What's step one for you?
Spiritual. Yeah. Spirituality. That usually gets me through. That gets me through. That and my kids, husband, and my mom. That's the inner circle. That's the sphere.
So it's about the people.
Yeah, the inner circle. Because once you build up that core, then the outer surfaces, you can repair them.
Yeah. So it's about, you say spiritual.
Yeah.
Is that church? Is that meditation? Is that some kind of reading or ritual? I know everyone has different things that they do now.
Absolutely.
I know for me, it's church, it's the Bible, it's the prayers, all of that stuff. It's the praise and worship music. All of those things help me.
Absolutely.
What are those things for you?
Same thing. Praise and worship, and even a lot of affirmation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
words of affirmation. Learn to rest, not to quit.
I like it.
So that's one of my favorites. I keep it on the sticker on the back of my phone. And as you can see, it's worn. It's getting, with the school year, it's getting worn down, but still.
It's still there.
This is the motto right here. This is the mantra. Learn to rest, not to quit. And if you can rest and rebuild and re-energize yourself, and I've learned to take many, many, many staycations.
Hey, take that day off.
Yeah, a mental health day.
The work will be here when you get back.
Sure will. Yeah.
Last question before we get to our 5 W's. How would you describe teaching in the classroom to someone who's never done it before?
I always say it reminds me of being on stage. Whatever's going on when those curtains are closing, you're prepping and hyping yourself up and getting yourself ready. When the curtains open, you come out smiling.
Showtime.
That's what I always say. When we stand outside the door and greet our students, when I kick that the door jamb.
Yep, the door stopped and you kick it.
They always laugh. The other teachers gonna say, "Showtime."
I like it.
Yeah, and at the end, 7th period, I take them out. Another well done performance. Errors and all, bloopers and all, blunders and all. It's not a perfect science. Right. And if you try to make it a perfect science, you're going to fail.
Yeah, it's too much to try to be perfect all the time because there's always so much going on in life. But to try to come into your classroom and be perfect, whatever that even looks like, it's just a lot of unneeded pressure that we don't have to have.
Yeah.
I don't think the kids expect us to be perfect.
No. I don't think they like it either because they're imperfect. And I get that a lot when I read some of the cards and letters that are up on my wall. They always say, I feel like I can be myself in this class. And that means so much. Because I told them no one's laughing at anyone here. We all make mistakes. Right. Everyone is accepted here. If you say a wrong answer, I'll still accept it because at least you're trying it.
Right.
So
when we can celebrate those times too, when it's not, because now we are reaffirming that trying is better than not trying, even if when you try, you get it wrong.
Yeah.
So that's a shift in mindset because growing up, it's all about getting things right.
Correct.
And you don't necessarily get praised for trying if you have the wrong answer. But turning that around, I think is a great thing that you're doing in your classroom.
Yeah. And those are some of the contacts that I enjoy making the most. So I'll have students who may be struggling, whether it's with behavior or academics. And we are always quick to type that letter to the parent. But how many times do we type the letter, hey, such and such has really turned things around, is doing
Right.
a good job. It goes both ways.
Yes.
We can't always complain about the child. And we have to be solution oriented. If it's
Yes.
something that, usually I say, if it's something I can fix in this classroom, why should I bother that parent with it?
Yes.
If moving that child from the person that they're talking to too much may solve the problem, then
Yeah.
do that.
Problem solved.
Yeah,
No extra people needed. Okay. Are you ready for the 5 W's?
I hope I am.
I'm sure you are. Who, what, when, where, or why? Which one do you want to start with?
Who?
Who in education has helped you the most? You could go names or no names. Up to you.
It would have to be my supervising person who was along with me for my journey during Teach Worthy. Her name. But she would come in, and even when I was on team, she'd come in and she'd observe, she'd be silent, she'd listen, and then afterwards she'd give me constructive feedback. Miss Mamou, you did good on this. You could try this. The online environment is new for you, so try it this way or that. She was very good. And she said she taught for like 35 years. Yeah.
That's
She
a
was
wealth of
very,
knowledge.
very good.
Okay. What, when, where, why?
Where?
Where'd you see yourself 5 years ago? And are you there, or did it change along the way?
Definitely, yep, changed along the way. Of course, going back to COVID, I probably would have still been teaching continuously without an interruption if it hadn't been for COVID. But as soon as we went back in person, I got it the first week. Yep, the first week. So, and at that point, it was still new. So my husband, we had lost a very close family member. So he said, take some time off.
Yeah.
He said, we're not going to risk.
We're not going to play with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now we have what, when, and why.
Why?
Why do people leave education?
A perception, I think. I think sometimes people come in thinking, I can change this. I can change them. They're going to do it my way. And when they see that they can't, no matter what they do, whether it's their approach, they're like, you know what? I'm gone.
The perception of education is different than the reality of education.
Absolutely.
And because we both have had other jobs and worked in industry and have done tons of other stuff, I think that is easier for us to see the upside of education as opposed to many people who haven't maybe done other things.
Yeah.
And this is just from my perspective, from me talking to people that when they haven't been in anything else, they don't understand, I would say, how good we have it. Now, that is dependent on what you teach and where you teach, as we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
When you can teach something that you really love and that you're invested in and that you have expertise in, it's way different than teaching something that you feel like, I'm a novice, or I don't want to teach this, but my
forced to teach
exactly.
It,
I got 5 preps.
Yeah.
So definitely makes a big difference. And when you're at a school that you feel like supports you and that you enjoy the people, makes a huge difference in what that looks like for each person. So I would say there's so many things that go into the perception and then the reality of school. And then everybody's reality is different.
Yeah.
So, okay. That is who is down. When. No, not when. I think we have when left, right? When and what?
Yeah.
Okay. When or what?
What?
What's your escape plan? If you plan to escape.
All right. Well, my only other get out would be my dream which is event planning, event decor, and design. So if I got my own business and it took off to the point where I couldn't still give my best, that's always the deciding factor for me. Anything that would take so much of my time where I still couldn't do this with integrity, then.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's a great line. That's a great line to draw. It's like, well, here we go. It's time. Very good. Okay, when? I'm glad you kind of saved this for last because it's my favorite question to ask. When did you begin to feel confident in yourself as a teacher?
I have to say, funny enough, it was online during COVID.
Wow.
Because when I came in, there was really no time for me to learn all the different ways to engage the students. With technology. But COVID, you had no choice but to learn. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of Mentimeter, where you could do the word clouds, Answer Garden, Padlet. I mean, all these different things that makes your subject new and novel each time.
Yes.
Because your delivery is different, the assignment is different, Google Forms.
Yes.
You know, so having that time, first we had the time off while they revamped the system.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was like, okay, I need to learn some of these things. And then they even had tutorials in there for you to learn those things. Yep, a lot of job aids and teams.
Yeah.
So I got to learn, and there was more time built in for learning during that time. And so I was able to come back with that knowledge to the classroom. And so my warm-up, my do now, might look a little different than it did when I first started, which is all I knew was just
write it up on the board.
Yeah, write it up on the board. Now I'm like, hey, let's do a word cloud. Everything you remember from yesterday's lessons, I want to see it flying up there. And they're like, oh, this is fun. Can we do that again? So that really was the best time for me because I got to learn such new skills.
There we go. COVID's still teaching us lessons.
And that's something. Yeah.
That is one thing before we get out of here that came from COVID is we were able, the team that I work with across the district that teaches the same thing, some of which have been on the show, we were able to put together so many different learning experiences and share them with each other and collaborate. COVID really brought our team together.
Yeah, ours as well.
I feel like
I'm still using some of that stuff in my folders now.
Yep. So I guess thanks, COVID? Question mark.
Question mark, exclamation.
Mamou, thank you for doing this. We definitely got to do it again. There's so much more to talk about.
Absolutely.
But any final thoughts, last words?
You know, I know at the beginning of the school year, our principal at Bush, where I started, would always ask, what's our why or our mantra or our phrase that keeps us going? And I know I was watching the Steve Harvey show one day, and he said, each one teach one, from back in slave time. One slave may not know how to do everything, read, write, but if you acquire that one thing, then you pass that down to the next one and the next one. Each one teach one.
All right. That's the advice. Each one teach one. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed that conversation between me and Mamou. She's a great person and a great teacher. She's used all of her experience to create a culture in her classroom that is accepting, that takes the mistakes and turns them into something that the kids can learn from, as well as something for her to learn from. Encouraging kids to try without the fear of ridicule fosters a sense of belonging and promotes the active participation that we are all looking for in our classrooms. Lastly, find the joy in teaching. It may look different from the teacher next door. For Miss Mamou, it was all about showtime. But for you, it may be in the curriculum. It may be in the relationships. Just find that joy, because that way it helps to reduce the burnout that we feel from the outside stressors and expectations. Because you enjoyed what you heard from this episode, go join the Teacher Triumphs Facebook group. Me and Jen created it as a way to help you overcome burnout and balance life by building community with other wonderful educators. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next Monday and Thursday with more Teacher Tales. Keep teaching, keep learning, and I will see you all on the next journey.